this video, we're going to review how to install, start, and test an AMP server on Windows. So we're going to start by downloading and installing WAMP Server. So we come over to our installation instructions. And we go to the project site. Click download. And our download has begun. So we'll just wait on this. I will pause the video here and pick you back up after the download has completed. Alright, our download is finished, so I'm going to navigate to the Downloads folder on my computer. Right here is the installer for WAMP Server. So I'll double click on that, run the installer, choose my language, accept the license agreement. I'm going to use the default folder so that all of the references to the paths that I make in the lecture notes will make sense. And then I wait for it to install. So I'll probably pause here and pick the video back up once all of these files have been installed. Now that all of the files for WAMP Server have finished installing, the first thing it does is prompts me to choose my default internet browser. It will choose Internet Explorer for you. I'm using Windows 10. Windows 10 doesn't even have Internet Explorer anymore. It uses Edge. So I do not use Internet Explorer. I'm going to have to choose a different browser on my system. So I'll click yes. If you have Internet Explorer and that's what you use, then you can just say no and keep Internet Explorer as your default browser. But I'm going to have to navigate to my browser, which is Vivaldi. And here it is. So just find the executable file for your browser. If you're not sure where it is, it's probably in Program Files. The next thing it asks for after your browser is your text editor. So it's going to use Notepad by default. Everyone should have Notepad, but if you use a different one, I use Notepad++, so I'm going to go find that. And now it will finalize the installation. And we're finished. WAMP Server is now installed on this computer. And by default, it will put an icon on the desktop. You can leave that there or delete it. It doesn't matter. It should now be in your Start menu. On the lab computers, it's actually over here in the tiles. But WAMP Server is now in my Start menu as well, so I could access it there or on the desktop. So to start the server, which will start the web server and the database server simultaneously, I just double-click on the icon. You need administrator privileges to run a server, so it will ask me if it's okay, and I say yes. And now we watch the little WAMP icon go from red to yellow to green. So now our WAMP server is up and running. We have a web server and a database server running on this computer. If we go back to sort of our guidelines, what are we doing? We've already downloaded and installed. We've started our server. So now we're going to play around a little bit, create some databases, import some data. So I will open a MySQL console first. And there's an easy way to do that with WAMP. You just click on the WAMP icon, go to the MySQL folder, and click MySQL console. There. The first thing it will do will prompt you for a password, and the password by default is no password, so you just hit enter without typing anything, and this brings up the MySQL prompt. You know it's a MySQL prompt because it says MySQL before the little caret. So here, the first thing I want to do is see what databases exist on my computer. Well, right now it's just the system databases, the ones that just make the server run. I'm going to create a new database by typing create database, and I'm going to call it Cape Cod because that's what I need in order to be able to import the file from the textbook. So I type create database Cape Cod semicolon enter, and it says okay, we did it. So if I show databases again, you'll see that the Cape Cod database now exists there. I'm going to use the Cape Cod database, meaning the MySQL prompt will know to interpret anything I say as being related to the Cape Cod database. And now I want to look at all the tables in there. So I'll show the tables in the Cape Cod database. Right now, there are none. That's because I just created it. I didn't add any tables. I didn't create any tables within the Cape Cod database, so there aren't any. I'm going to fix that by going back to Moodle and downloading the two files to create the example from the textbook. And if I go to my downloads folder, I see that those are there. I want to import these into the Cape Cod database. So I'm going to do that by opening up a new terminal window. If I click the Start menu and type CMD, that'll allow me to get a command prompt. So this is not a MySQL prompt, it's a regular old Windows prompt. I can see that it's just saying, hi, you're Angela, what do you need? And what I need is to change the directory, so I type CD for change directory, to the downloads folder, because that's where the file is that I want to use. Now that I'm in the downloads folder, I'd like to import something from this folder into MySQL. So what I'm first going to type is the path to MySQL. Conveniently, if you already have MySQL open, which we do in the top, you can see at the top of this window it tells me the exact path to the MySQL executable. So down in my bottom command prompt, what I'm going to type first is that path. So C WAMP64 bin MySQL 5.7.14/bin/mysql.exe. Then what would I like to do? Well, I'd like to sign in as the root user, so I type -u for user, and then root. There is no password. If there was a password, I'd have to type -p for the password, but I don't have a password, so I don't type that. And then I type a less than sign, which means I'm about to import a file, and the file I want to import is this create tables file. So I'm going to start typing that, dbp for database processing. And once I've started the file name, I can actually hit tab and it will automatically complete the file name. And that's exactly the file I want. So I hit enter. And it will take a few seconds to process the file, but then when it brings me the prompt back up, that means it's finished. So it should have executed this SQL file. And if I go back into the database prompt and type show tables again, Now, all these tables exist in my database. So by importing this file in a separate command prompt, I've added all these tables that are described in detail in the textbook to the database. That's all we're going to accomplish for now. Next week, we'll practice some queries in this database, import some data, but for now, all we need to do is create it and insert the tables. So we're done.